Coming up on Now You Made It Awkward podcast.
What's going on, guys? So, Editor Shoky here in the future. I wanted to go ahead and give a preamble for this episode. We are going to be discussing a pretty hefty topic involving bad people doing bad things to children. And if any of that will make you uncomfortable, by all means, maybe this isn't the episode for you, but the goings-on within this episode, as we discuss the investigation, and then even the police officer himself who blew the whistle on a situation in Buffalo, New York. So I do want to say here at the beginning, we do stand with AngryCops and with Unsubscribed Podcast, and Detective Rich High. We're good. We're good with him. It's pretty cool. Like the guy. He's funny, except whenever you see him tear up and get emotional because he's been stressed to the gills when it comes to this situation and the fact that he couldn't handle it anymore. So, either way, here at the Now You Made It Awkward podcast, we do stand with AngryCops. And if there's anything that our tiny show could ever lend towards a much bigger content creator, it's nothing more than our support in whatever is going to happen with him and hopefully his future career still as an SVU detective and being out there and doing his best to protect kids from the worst people in our modern world. So, that's what's going to happen today. And also, this episode is coming out of order. I felt that it made more sense to go ahead and get this episode out this week. We actually shot it this week that it is releasing. And so if you're confused why episode 140 didn't happen, and we're suddenly on to 141. Well, 140 will come next week. It's one of our standard episodes. This one just took precedence. So it is what it is, guys. Sorry if there's any kind of confusion, but that's what's going on. So now on with the episode.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get going. So I did want to start off on a lighter note because we do have some hefty stories to talk about. There's you're aware of the Shrekiverse, right?
Yeah.
So you know how like most fairy tales and stuff kind of exist in there because they live in a land of happily ever after or whatever.
Yeah.
There is a new theory floating around the internet that I saw that who Lord Farquad was from Shrek 1. That in theory his mother is Snow White.
Ah, okay.
They dress very similarly.
Yes.
Poofy shoulder stuff, that kind of thing. He is in possession of the magic mirror. Like, how the fuck would you get that if you weren't a part of that family, right? And well, there's the whole thing about him being a bit dwarfish. Mm-hmm. So it's entirely possible that he is the result of Snow White and one of the dwarves, in theory. But also that would explain a lot, But the question is, I don't remember Snow White being in the Shrek movies. Not Disney Snow White, obviously. But
yeah.
But some representation. I know there were other princesses, but I don't recall Snow White being a part of it.
I don't either.
So I don't know. It's possible. It's like way in the future, perhaps. I mean, it could also be maybe he's like an extra descendant, like maybe that was his grandma or something. But it could also be that maybe he's not Snow White's descendant. Maybe he was the evil queen's. Maybe she saw what Snow White had going on and went, I'm gonna break me off a piece of that twig.
Oh.
Oh shit, what are the bonsai tree? There you go. I'm gonna snap me off a little of that bonsai tree.
But what one would it be? I can't even talk. Which 7. What would it have been?
My guess would be either Doc, Dopey, or Grumpy. Grumpy was the one who basically she completely changed in the story. That's assuming you're going with the Disney version.
Okay.
Since they had... Oh, didn't mean to cut to Jefe. By the way, there's Jefe. I wasn't looking and I'm pushing buttons blindly. But no, because, like, yeah, she kind of mentored Dopey a little bit because, you know, he's our special little boy. And but that would be really, really fucked up if that was the truth. But considering, like, the ego on him, I would think maybe Grumpy. Because Farquad had a hell of an ego.
Yes.
But, like...
That's what I was leaning towards, too. It's Grumpy.
Yeah.
That he has...
Grumpy got a little, you know... Got a little... yeah. He got a little white in his snow.
Yeah, you got to change his name to Kinky.
That's the 8th dwarf. They kept him in the basement wrapped in leather.
Oh.
Actually, I think we answered our own question. Extended the fandom. There was an 8th dwarf. They kept him in the basement.
What were they saying? Hi ho, hi ho.
Yep. And soft work we go. except for Kinky.
Yeah.
Yep. Or is that one Touchy? Uncle Touchy's naked puzzle basement. I forgot where that came from, and I saw a reference to it the other day because it was a sign that somebody had made for like it was literally like an underground club of some sort. So they actually called it Uncle Touchy's, and it was pointed down, so it was a basement club. It was like Uncle Touchy's naked puzzle basement, where you won't wear a shirt and you'll cry. You ever heard that from Patton Oswalt? It's from one of his stand-ups. That's where it came from. Back when I used to like Patton Oswalt a lot more than I do now. He just like ran his mouth a bit. You know, that's the only reason I don't like him. His comedy's fine. It's just the California isms.
Oh, okay.
I mean, mind you, I do feel bad for him because his wife was murdered. So there's that whole situation. You know, is this face? Yeah, that's facing the right way. Okay. I'm just making sure that this is, when I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you on the screen.
Do I need to move?
No, you're fine. But I'm saying this wasn't mirrored before. So for the first couple episodes, we were doing the cameras like this. Whenever I went to this, I was looking away from the person I'm talking at. So, guys, behind the scenes stuff here. So if you see on the screen, I'm looking at my camera now. Now I'm looking where Chad normally would be sitting. Now I'm looking where Chad is sitting for Jefe. So the thing is, I got to do that. It is what it is. Actually, I'm going to turn this over so slightly so I can see it better. Because I got a lot of glare off of where the light went. All right. Either way, but no, that's the whole thing there with sneezy McTouch-a-lot. But I guess actually, coincidentally, that whole joke ended up rolling into the stories we'll be talking about realistically, with the Uncle Buffalo school system naked puzzle basement, I guess. Either way, we'll be talking about that coming up. So, guys, welcome back to the Now You Made It Awkward podcast. I am Shoky. You can follow me and all the Shoky-related things down below, whether that's the Shoky Reviews channel, Shoky Reviews 2, which, you know, you can see that if you want. There's lots of videos there. Or the It Doesn't Have to Make Sense live stream channel. And, of course, make sure you do the like and subscribe thing to this here channel. That would be fucking fantastic if you would do that. We need more subs so I don't have to keep paying Instagram to sell ads for me and then get lots and lots of spam telling me that they're going to shut down my Facebook account.
Yeah, I get that too.
I've been dealing with that all week long. So, also, guys, if you want the full uncut video version of this podcast, that is over on the Shoky Reviews Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can support just this show. But if you want to buy into all the other things that I do, including 3 to 4 times a month, monthly, phone chats that I have with my patrons, we do that, along with any reviews I might do behind the scenes, vlogs, other stuff like that. That's all available over there. So if you're interested, go ahead and sign up today. I recently lost a couple because I guess political differences. I'm not entirely certain because we have conversations that are generally not YouTube friendly, but we usually have a lot of fun. This past week, because it was Easter, or right after Easter, we were discussing the different ways that the Romans would crucify people. So we went on a deep dive on the science of crucifixion. So that was fun.
Okay.
And with me today is not the Jefe, but we have a Chado.
Hello.
In second chair. Jefe is sick.
Mm-hmm.
So he's out there
blowing snot balls.
Blowing snot balls even worse than he was before. He had a week off and got sicker somehow. So either way, you can follow Chad over at the C4 Graphics. at the new location.
Yes, sir.
Slightly down the road from the old location. West.
Yes.
West.
West.
As we determined today.
God.
And I did finally come by the shop Friday.
Came by, saw it, utilized it.
Utilized your ground and air conditioning to attempt to make repairs on my car. I managed 2 repairs and discovered that a thing that I've spent money on won't work on that car.
That sucks.
Yep. Oh, well. But I did hit up a friend who's like, hey, man, do you want this thing? And he's like, well, technically all my cars already have the lips on them, so no, I can't. And I was like, shit, okay. But it is made for European cars, so might have to hit up Jefe and see if it'll go on the Jetta.
So I guess you can't return it at all. They won't.
I can. I just haven't tried.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, if I can just sell it locally, I will.
Yeah.
But if I can return it, I will. I just hadn't tried yet. But I think I have a decent case because they clearly showed an absolutely different thing than it on my car or on an SRT. So I can just say it was false advertising and hopefully.
I mean, will that do any good for his? Because the way he's got his now for the Jetta.
I mean, make it look sporty.
Oh.
You know, it's definitely not sporty.
More arrows streamed.
His not Touareg.
Touareg.
Yeah. But I will say we do have somebody special in third chair. We have Jefe.
What's up, Jefe?
What's up, Jefe?
Fuck you, you fat Ukrainian piece of shit.
Damn, that was racist. I can't believe you said that. Jesus, Jefe.
It's under his breath.
You know, you can go around looking like Jefe, but you can't represent him like that. That's wrong.
He looks like me, just uglier, fat bastard.
No, just no. Either way, we'll talk to Jefe every now and then. It's fine. Okay, but if they wanted to contact the show, where would they do that, Chad?
Well, they can contact us at NowYouMadeItAwkwardMail@gmail.com, or you can get to our Facebook page, Now You Made It Awkward Podcast.
Yes, indeedy. Where you can send us messages either in text form or in audio format if you would like to do so, just like our good friend Shaun always does. God knows what he's got going for us today. Also, once again, red light is on, making sure recording. At least it's only 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's only like my second time I'm doing this, so
yeah, it's only 15 minutes in, so hopefully I didn't fuck it up this time.
All right.
38 minutes like the other time. All right, what do we got, Shaun?
Question for the pod. Hey, why are farts funny? I mean, really. Like, why are they funny? Like, burps, not funny. Farts, always funny. Like, what is it about a fart that makes a human male laugh every fucking time?
Well, let's go ask the internet. Let's see. Why are farts funny? Let's see here.
noise, smell.
This says the University of Helsinki says the funniness of farts is associated with uncontrollable physicality. Farts are a part of concealed physicality that pushes through to the surface. Good job. Let's see here. Let's see. Because gases build up and you need to be released by everyone on the planet, included Greta Thunberg, which is a great relief when you fart. This is a good one. First, flatulence is humorous because it produces a sudden sense of superiority. Hold on, I'm pulling this one up. This is gonna be good. All right, so. Oh, that's funny. That's just a question. Where's the answers? What the fuck? Okay, I'm trying to see the answers. I don't think I can. Oh, I had to buy the freaking article. That's so dumb.
You can't even see one or two of them. Huh?
No, I can't even see the answers. That's so dumb. I don't know. I mean, they are just kind of universally funny. And it's not just men. Women do find them funny. They just don't find them funny in the presence of men.
Yes.
But other women they'll laugh at farts.
I guess I need to ask my 12-year-old tonight.
Yeah?
Why is your fart... I can ask him. No, I can't do it right now.
Yeah, don't ask him right now. He's at school or whatnot. So I got to close that. I got to remember how this thing functions. But either way, I think that, I think it is because we all do it. It is generally pretty random. I can't explain why the sound is funny. There's nothing I can say other than maybe it's because it does sound far more animalistic than most noises we make. I mean, burps are funny too, but not in the same way, right?
Yeah, 'cause, yeah, like you said, the random. You can be somewhere and all of a sudden just, and you're like, that came out of you?
Yeah. Especially if it's like that situation.
I guess it depends on how deep, long, wet. Either it's gonna be like, ugh, or, yeah, I have no idea. I don't know why they're funny. They just are.
That's what she said.
That is what she said, Jefe. Either way. No, I think, it's just, I think because it is an unexpected, I wanted to know where that superiority thing was going. That was an interesting concept I don't think I would have ever thought of. But,
so if you do it and it's loud enough, that shows your dominance, superiority.
I think, it's either that or it's because it's also kind of a universal suffering point.
For everybody.
For everybody. Everybody farts. Everybody's got a toot. And it is because I think if every fart was a consistent sound, we probably, or in feel and smell, we probably would get bored with it and not care. But I think the complete and utter randomness of it is why it's funnier.
See, I love it because when I'm driving, I have control of what's going on, and I have control of the windows. So I can lock them, keep them up, whatever, and everybody else has to suffer with it.
Fucking dick. You're like, I can fart and lock the windows up.
Yes.
Fucking asshole right there. I don't think anybody ever finds the smell funny, other than the person who dealt it.
Remember, I can't smell it.
Oh, you fucking... I forgot about your shit immunity. Your fucking offset. So you got your own built-in superpower.
Yeah, everybody, around me would be like, what the hell was that? I'm like, I don't know.
You know what's funny? We were talking about this Saturday, about your when you had that sinus infection and lost your sense of smell and still have some damage. I suffered no damage.
Yeah.
But what's funny is we were talking about that, and I mentioned it before here on the show. So I got a hair bothering me on my chin. Weird. That's what she said.
It's called a beard.
Yep. Yeah, right? What is this? No, when I had COVID the first time, my sense of smell was increased. Like, it was like cranked up to 11. It was crazy. I could smell things I definitely didn't want to smell. But some stuff was like normal. Other things were like just waves of like just intense smell that I couldn't. Like, I came out of the bathroom. Jessica just had got home with some Sonic, and she definitely got onion rings and a bacon burger, and it had all I could smell was bacon, which made me sick because it was right after we nearly had a grease fire in our oven from doing bacon in the oven. So that was already bad. But the onions were so strong, it's all I could smell when she walked in the door. It was like I stepped out of the bathroom and just woof, like just slammed in the face with the smell of onions. So that was crazy. But like I said, when I lost my sense of smell due to that sinus infection, same thing you were talking about, I didn't have any long-term effects that I can recall. But I would definitely give up smelling.
I think it took me about 2-3 months to actually start gaining anything back.
Yeah.
And this happened, it's going on years now for the most of it. I can smell, but that's the main one I cannot, which for some people is great. But you also want to make sure that nothing happened.
Sorry, I was reading. So I was in a Twitter, getting into a little bit of a Twitter beef this morning.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's over what we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
But this guy was replying. I just got an @ reply. It wasn't to me. I just happened to be in that part of the thread. And it was back to the journalist who started the conversation. So it has part of what we're going to be talking about today. But we do have, just real quick, I want to say, just get this out of the way because we're going to be talking about some deep subjects and news kind of situations for the most of the part of the show. This weekend, yesterday,
Yes.
after we got home from church and nearly $300 worth of grocery shopping. Yeah, we were out of everything. We watched a movie that Jefe was very much interested in. I rented Mickey17.
Oh, how was that?
Well, I found myself scrolling the internet for a while.
There you go. Okay. I guess that says something.
But the story was interesting. But man, like it probably would have been an interesting series. It would have been fun to see that as a serialized thing instead of whatever. 80% of the movie is exposition. like it's Mickey telling the story of how he got to where he is, why he's an expendable. Like literally the first 15 minutes of him is just backstory being told to us. That's it. I was like, what the fuck? Like, and then lots of exposition throughout. Definitely a lot of Trump allegory in there. Space Nazi type situation being set up as well, which is really easy to figure out where they're going with that conversation that they were having. The science of it was interesting. It was a pretty decent looking movie for what it was, you know, a bare bones, like minor sci-fi movie. And realistically, there's not a lot going on. It's a pretty simple, straightforward movie.
Okay.
So I would say wait till it probably gets to a significant discount or nearly free.
Okay.
And then binge it one day for funsies. Not a bad movie. Not a great one. And not as definitely would not have paid real theater prices to see it. Unfortunate. But it was definitely Robert Pattinson not playing a role we've really ever seen him do. Because the weird voice he's doing as Mickey is funny. Because the main thing, they only needed... So it's basically human space colonies, right? So they want to colonize a new planet. When you find out why they have to colonize the planet is what's really funny. Because there's like a whole backstory to the world that you're just like, we glossed over that to focus on this part. And then how he gets into the expendable program is funny. And then when he gets explained to him what's going to happen to him, and he's just like, he didn't even read the pamphlet. He just signed up because it's the only way he was going to get on this ship.
Now, I know this maybe spoilers, but does it happen? Does he know what happens throughout every single time?
Yeah.
So is that conscience and everything goes with him?
Well, here's the weird part. One thing I've never understood about it that doesn't necessarily get explained is how it passes on the memories of the one that just died. Also, I think they inject a sensor that lets them know that you're dead. Because otherwise, that's the one part of the story that kind of gets a bit wonky. Because we see it in the trailer when we move on to a new one.
Oh, yeah, I died.
Yeah, so there's a new one where he comes back, and there's another one already in his bed.
Yeah.
So they thought he died, and then he came back. But nobody bothered to check that he was 100% dead. So does that mean that somebody flipped a switch when he was reported dead? Or is there an automatic system, so maybe he died for a minute, and then he didn't die, and he comes back?
Triggered it. To
So
get
they triggered the next one to go, which, of course, makes the rest of the story happen. There are flashbacks that get a little confusing because they don't necessarily tell you it's a flashback, and you're just like, hold on, wait. Okay, now I see what's going on. So there's like a whole moral implication to having quick printed clones and that kind of stuff. But it does kind of like what Multiplicity does, that every time he makes a clone, they have a slightly different personality. They're not 100% the original.
Okay.
So there's actually conflict between 17 and 18, which made it interesting. So they're not exactly the same person. But I guess he does have the memories somehow of what happened before.
Man, 18 different variations.
Yeah, at least all the other ones are gone. That's the thing, is that they when one of them dies, everything on the ship, no matter what it is, goes through this recycle system that basically turns everything back. Anything biological turns into food product. But they have a 4.5 year journey to get to the new planet, so they got to have food somehow. It's not a massive ship, so they got to do what they got to do. And everybody's awake. There's no cryo sleep. There's none of that shit. So it's just 4.5 years being trapped on this bucket with all these other people. And they have cloning machines, which is actually really cool because it literally takes only a few minutes to print out a fully grown clone. So you're not doing like the whole start out with a baby and whatever. They're not already ready to go. It literally just, once the previous one dies, the next one gets printed. They download the memories, and they have literally it's called a brick. So it's the machine, the memory backup. It's called the brick. It literally, as a sight gag, they made it look like a freaking brick with a handle and a little screen on it. I was like, so somebody thought that was funny and just made it that way? Like, I mean, the scientist, not the director. I was like, in world, like some dork went, we're going to call it a brick. We're just going to make it look like a brick. It was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, like and then there's a really weird twist right at the end. And it makes you go like, the fuck? like, because it would have been a really cool actual twist.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, wait, what? Okay, now I question what's going on, but not in that like good way. Just more like, why did they throw this in here kind of way? So I don't know. It was fine. I would give it a solid C.
Okay.
You know, right down the middle.
I'll check it out.
Probably like a 6.5. Not really offensive, except in the Trumpisms, but Mark Ruffalo transforming a little bit into being this pompous windbag of a fucking politician is kind of funny. Because they give him big fake teeth.
I forget that he's in that.
Yeah, he's the senator or whatever he is. But he's got this whole fucking his backstory. While very brief, you get everything you need to know about the asshole.
Okay.
And then Toni Collette playing his wife. So it's like a whole thing. I don't know. I guess I don't get people's obsession with her, but people like her.
I don't have one, so
Yeah, that's good for you.
Yeah.
What was the other thing that I forgot to mention? I watched something the other day and I forgot what it was. Got very busy doing other shit and kind of forgot. Like, so I'm not entirely certain. Oh, that's what it was. We finished the season of Extracted, that stupid Not Alone show. It was so dumb.
You kept going with it then.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the last 2 episodes with Jessica because it was either that or I stream on the one night we were actually going to be able to hang out, you know. So we watched the end of it, and like I'd missed a couple of extractions and people going home. The final thing was so dumb. The final challenge, as it were, was so dumb. So there was 4 people left, and everybody, the families that are in the compound have to come up with a combination lock. So it's 5 letters. You got to think of a word that they'll be able to think of and set that as the lock. Sure, it's a good test if you knew the person well enough. So that was a good idea. One person was 100% like synced up with her family. The other ones,
They didn't know each other then, huh?
they didn't know each other well enough. Well, here's the problem. It's also the teamwork aspect because it's a team of 3. 2 stay behind, 1 goes out, right? If those 2 don't get along, that can cause conflict. And that's what happened with one of them. The first word the other guy guessed out on the road was the word the other guy suggested that they didn't go with. If he had guessed it, you would have been running out first place. So they had to paddle like half a mile or something out into a lake or across a lake. At first they had to inflate the hard way, inflate a raft. So they had to either blow it up by mouth.
And pump?
No pump.
Oh.
They had to blow it up by breathing into it, or they were also given a bag that if you used it properly, you know, you could just squeeze and fill the thing quickly. And one chick was already massively malnourished and had previously been sick and almost extracted, so they were worried she wasn't going to fucking make it. Then they after they get through that challenge, so they had to get to their box, which had the lock on it. Then it was a race. Okay, figure out whatever. The first 2 that got it right were going to move on to the next challenge. The other 2 automatically eliminated. So you got to know your family well enough or they're getting the fuck out, right? So not to spoil much, the next part was they had to go. Oh, the thing they unlocked was an earpiece and a phone that they could finally talk to their team directly. So that was cool. So then they had to give them directions audibly to the next location, to the next puzzle, which was a Morse code thing. So they had a Morse code handbook and they had to, from the phone, had to tell the family what the dots and dashes were, and so they could translate it and give them the answers. It was the direction to the next thing, which was real stupid because it was like there wasn't a way to screw it up. It was either get it or don't get it, but they made it act like that you came to a river. You were either going to go upstream or downstream is what they made it seem like. It's like, yeah, but you couldn't screw up the translation to get the answer wrong. You know, it was literally like one or the other, right? So I won't say who had to go where, but you know, it came down to a foot race. Huh. That's all it was. Just foot race.
Okay.
And they're still trying to give directions, but then when they got near the end, like when they got close to the final checkpoint where the actual thing was, signal cuts off. So they can't give them
gotta be on their own.
they can't give them any further directions as they get there. So that part was neat, but overall the show was so fake, so fucking fake and manufactured. Like I think ultimately it was like a week and a half total for the whole suffering. It was just like it made it seem like it's like a month, 2 months out there. It's like no.
They didn't say there's like cameras all through the everything checking it out. Yeah,
and camera crew that with them there all the time. One chick nearly got booted. The one I was telling you about, she actually almost got booted for medical reasons, and they put it on the family on whether or not they take her out. The medical person said, "Is like, look, she's really bad off. It's like if we don't do this final challenge, she needs to get extracted immediately." And the funny thing is, the last thing that I missed was that they took away all their creature comforts the last day beforehand. So whatever shelter they had built, they got kicked out of their shelter, had just bare minimum supplies, and had to survive again, almost like it was day one. So, I mean, sure, there were some challenges. I'm not going to pretend like there weren't, because you were either going to make it or you weren't. If you fucked up your fire situation, like one of the episodes, the families had to give them supplies to make a torch, so that because the thing they needed to get to, they had to set fire to. But they had to be able to assemble the torch, light it, carry it through the woods, keeping it lit, and get to the final thing to set fire to it to be the winner. And the one they used, they chose olive oil or vegetable oil. It's like, that doesn't really burn that well. It takes a while to light, but they soaked the fucking thing. So inside the box with the fucking striker, everything covered in fucking oil when they get there. And he's in there trying to light it, and it won't spark. It won't do fuck all. So you have to clean all the oil off of everything just to be able to get started. And it's like, I'd be so pissed. Yeah. So it was a whole ordeal. I mean, like, if you like it, you like it, but...
How many did they start with? How many families?
I think 8.
So there was 4 left. And
8 or 10.
Okay.
I forget. It wasn't that many. But, yeah, it was just so dumb. And you could tell they're literally like not even a mile from where they're actually doing everything. They stay within like a 2-mile area, which is fine. That makes sense. But I mean, like, everyone's in the same area. You could literally just go find another person if you want to do something.
So at night, the resort's 3 miles away. Is that what it is?
Barely. Like, but also that was good for rescuing reasons. You know, so if somebody gets in a problem, they can literally just hop in a Jeep and go.
Okay.
Because when they were done, they literally hopped in a Jeep and went back to the fucking building. They didn't like get extracted by a helicopter. You know, they were close enough. I mean, for me, the final challenge would have been get your ass back to the fucking building.
Yeah.
Like, however you got to do it. It's like, no, none of this fucking find a box somewhere in the woods. It's like, no. Take all the knowledge you've done in this headset and hopefully know how to get back to the fucking building. And you guys have to literally just foot race it down a fucking mountain safely to get back to the building. That's what I would have done for me.
Yeah.
Though, question, if you were in a similar situation and say it was Heidi out there, what 5-letter word would you use for her code that you think she'd be able to go like, oh yeah, Chad would definitely do this?
Shoot, I have no idea. I'm trying to think in my head what it would be.
See, Jessica and I agreed on one. And it's like, it makes total sense. Boobs.
Boobs.
Easy enough. Well, see, here's the thing. Because it's not all 26 letters per the thing. So all you got to do is look at the letters and just go, okay, hold on. I've got at least a 1 in 6 chance of getting at least one of these things right. And sort of figuring out a word is like, okay, well, this one has the same letters as this, and these two have the same letters here. So it would have been like, okay, so these must line up, you know, because all the letters are the same across it. But we agreed on boobs because it makes sense. It's like everybody loves boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might work, yeah.
Yeah. But because a lot of people try to use a loved one's name.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you could put Heidi. No, that's 5. So you could literally use her name. Oh, you weren't allowed to use your name or their name.
Okay.
You had to use someone else's name or some other word.
That'd be something I have to do when I get home.
Yeah.
Ask.
Just for funsies.
She's going to say something completely different. We're like,
yeah. We'll come up with one for each other.
Yeah. Okay.
One that you think that she would put for you. You know, that would make sense. Because Cade wouldn't work. That's not 4. Your dad's name wouldn't work. Short nor long. What? The short version of his name?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah. You could use that. I mean, I don't know if you would think of that,
I
but
probably wouldn't think of that.
yeah, something you would
Something
think of,
that's within the family, right? Immediate.
or something you just like that much,
Yeah.
like bikes or something. I don't know. You know, something like cycle.
Hers would probably be camera.
Yeah, that's 6. Camera.
See, I can't even spell.
Yeah,
I'd be
a good idea,
I'd
though.
be crap at this game, so don't worry.
yeah, it's all good. But yeah, no, I just thought that was interesting. Guys out there, if you're listening, for the love of God, leave comments. Tell us, is there a 5-letter word you would want as a code? And I'm not asking for a password to anything. I'm just saying if it was you were in this situation, talk to your loved ones, see what words you guys would come up with. Is there anything you managed to watch or experience in the last week?
Kate and I have been on the
Your mom.
Tron animated series.
There was an animated series?
Yep.
No shit.
It's actually supposed to. You got the original Tron, you got Tron Legacy,
Uh-huh.
and this one actually happened kind of before Legacy, kind of leading up to Clue's role. And
Okay.
so it's actually pretty good. We haven't finished it yet,
Yeah.
so it's good. I like it. And they were supposed to thought they were gonna have a season 2. They didn't. It's only one season.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is actually not bad at all.
Well, hell, that universe gets way bigger than I thought. I was last week because my work schedule was pretty light and we were already ahead on the podcast. I was thinking about getting after the Tron world.
But this thing it's back in I think 2012 when it came out. So we're just now seeing it like what? It's called Tron Uprising.
Okay. That's usually what you do. It's like you just somewhere in a trilogy you got to have an uprising of some sort. I think it's just part of the formula of Hollywood nonsense. Speaking of sequels, sorry, I want to bring this up. Once again, right before we get to our news that we're going to talk about. New trailer for Predator Badlands.
I actually did not see it yet.
Okay,
I didn't look at it. Yeah.
Me, pull that up.
You can pull it up.
Me, pull that up for Chad. Here we go. Oh, look, somebody's talking about it right there. Tactical turtleneck talking about it. Predator Badlands trailer. Look at I only typed the PRE in instantly. All right, can you see?
Yep.
Bonk. I'll just bonk that really loudly. All right. Shit, where's my mouse?
I didn't think you survived.
So this year.
You're hunting something that can't be killed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the main thing that people have pointed out is that the design of this new Predator.
Yeah, it's not like the new or the old ones in the past.
No, and also has a vaguely African American design to it a little bit.
Okay.
Side shaves, braids pulled back.
Really?
Yeah, dark skin.
Wow.
It's very strange. It's like there are lots of subspecies within the Predator race that we know of from the different.
Way to stereotype people.
I'm just saying, here's the funny part. So they designed this Predator, right? Totally different. God knows what generation it is. Also appears to be in the future because we get Weyland-Yutani bots and stuff like that. So we're also getting a lot of crossover with the alien world. So we got cybernetics out there, whatever they call them. And then even some, looks like some space marines possibly going up against Predator for the first time. So that part's interesting. But the actual design of the Predator is just weird. Like, why would you do this? Let me back up to where it's roaring because that's the obvious best shot of it. Oh, hey, why did you go over there? So it looks like the sides of his head are shaved first of all, that's not hair. Those are like tentacles almost.
Yeah.
That's not hair, so there's no styling it. That's the even weirder part, but the fact that it's all pulled straight back, that's something we've never seen. It usually drapes off the body. So, but also the fact that it is definitely more brown-skinned than we usually see them, which is weird in and of itself. Now, the story that has supposedly come out about it, because, you know, the internet be what it is that it's a young predator who basically got kicked out of his tribe, and he's going on this hunt to kill whatever the big giant thing is, perhaps, to prove his worth to get back in.
Okay, so him, instead of being the bad guy, he's actually being
It's actually
the good
a
guy.
protagonist.
Yep.
Yeah, not necessarily good guy, but protagonist.
Yes.
Because technically Thanos was the protagonist of Infinity War. That was his movie. You know, whether he's doing good things or bad things, he's technically the protagonist. But I think it'll be interesting because we've never seen these two universes come together this way. Mm-hmm. The AVP movies are technically out of canon from the Alien movies and the Predator movies so far. The way we left the Predator, if you saw that one, we talked about it the other day.
Yeah.
That left things in a really weird place because they left a Predator armor for humans on Earth, which has never come up before, because if we just had that advanced tech on our hands, we wouldn't have a problem ever with xenomorphs. We'd have technology to already beat them, right? Let alone any other predators in the future. So, but it looks like it's going to be that way. But we see like an old predator with like the long gray dreads, like very advanced tech. But you see even the young one doesn't have a helmet, doesn't have anything. Looks really stripped down. So, you know, we never really covered a lot of the predator society and their hunter culture and stuff like that. We've seen a little bit of it throughout the first like 3 or 4 movies, but it'll be interesting.
Well, it's like in the first couple ones when they go off to go to planet to actually hunt.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of their first, tasks and everything, isn't it?
Sometimes it depends, because they can have like a scheduled one, you know, like the whole Earth is basically like a proving grounds kind of situation. But in AVP, those were like younglings. They weren't blooded yet. That was literally their first blood, is what that whole AVP movie was about. That's why whenever they finally killed a xenomorph, they marked their face. That was to denote that they are now blooded. So this one, you know, is in the future, so who knows? We know that their species evolves itself over time, almost in a way like the Borg. So if they find a superior hunter that they can't kill, they start adapting genetics and stuff from that other thing. That's why in the Predator, that big-ass fucking thing fighting them had a lot of human DNA in it as well. Because humans had kept kicking the ass of the Predators, especially in the 20th century. So they eventually like took some people, started genetically influencing themselves. So they're trying to make a genetic race of super predators. So, yeah, either way, assuming that any of that stays canon in any way, shape, or form, who knows? But I think it'll be fun.
Maybe they'll actually go into a little bit more about why he looks the way he does.
Maybe it's just his particular subspecies, because we know they exist. We saw that in Predators. I thought that movie was actually fun, because that's where we got to see like the big ones versus the little ones that are like, those are the ones we're used to, and we find out, oh shit, there's
bigger
big ones. It's like, and they are assholes. it's like so there's actually like a battle between the different levels of species on a single planet of sort of doing the same thing. So, but also I gotta wonder if they're gonna do that weird thing where like the whole reason he doesn't have a helmet is just so we see the predator face more often. I was like, that seems odd. It's not like an actor.
It'd be cool at the end and everything. It's like you've been graduated. You got your helmet.
Well, yeah, we see a helmet being picked up from somewhere. Oh, something I wanted to point out real quick. Sorry, did I close it? Ah, fuck it. Did I leave it open? The fun part is at the beginning of the thing. Hold on. The trophy room.
Yeah.
So, what do you notice? If you can see it, where the damn.
Yeah, I see some stuff. I'm trying to figure out. The dinosaur?
That's a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hunting a fucking T-Rex.
Yeah.
Something over here that definitely looks like some type of big ape, possibly other type of advanced human.
That's a huge...
This is a human hybrid skull with like a big plate on it, sort of. A regular human way over here.
Spine.
And with the spine. A couple other things we probably don't know, but this one right in the middle. Can you see it?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Is that the queen?
No.
What is that? I can't really.
Different movie franchise with aliens. Think Biosuit and Will Smith. That's the aliens from Independence Day.
Oh.
That means they're tying Independence Day
Okay.
into somehow the Weyland-Yutani universe. I was like, okay. I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's not even the same. I mean, it was Fox, regardless.
Yeah.
But, like, holy shit. Like, could you imagine them hunting that race down at some point? And they're like, so that means they have to fight that big-ass technical suit to take them down. And then take the actual skull of the alien inside. So, that's not normal, but fun. So
Makes for a good movie.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that. It's like definitely not going to argue that because imagine they at least two of them could probably take down a few of those things on their own. They caught one on by itself, but the Yachua, the predator species, we haven't seen them with like fighters, like fighter ships or anything like that. Usually just transport vessels or whatever. Where we know that species has like fighter jets. Effectively, they can destroy a massive weapon or planet-destroying weapons. You know. That would be an interesting conflict. You know, let's get more weird alien on alien violence with almost no humans interceding, you know? Because this would also be, time-wise, would be way in the future from that. Because we already got Weyland-Yutani synthetics. So, yeah, interesting. Also would be interesting to see the predators come up against humans and they can't tell the difference between synthetics or humans. And it would be a Blade Runner crossover.
Oh, okay.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Get up there. Hey, look, if Harrison Ford is still looking forward to doing any more of his old movies redone, that would be a good one, I think.
Add them to the aliens list. Predators.
Yes, that'd be fun. Okay. So, by the way, how did your golf game go? We talked about it briefly. So you played golf Saturday morning.
Yes. Actually, it's not bad. I will have to say that I was proud of myself because we actually just did of course, we didn't have 4, we had 3. Basically did a 3-man scramble, best ball. Figure out what that would. So we have one guy that actually has played very well and could have done, that as a sport for his career.
Nice.
Me that has played off and on through the years, and then another that is the second time to play at all. I was actually proud of myself to actually par one of the holes. So that was instead of going off there, I played my ball completely and parred it. So I was happy about that. But altogether, I mean, it was fun. I don't know how many balls we lost, but
Enough.
yes.
I haven't played an actual full round of golf before. I have played in the front yard and backyard and wherever the ball laid. Because we set up when my dad was really into golfing, we turned the yard into a mini course. Not to be confused with mini golf, but a mini course of golf. So set up holes in the front, and then you had to hit past the house. Try not to go over the house. Ask me how I know. My parents had a broken window for a very long time due to my friend Brian. And we did have a water hazard. We actually had 2. We had the pond and the pool. We did make it in the pool blindly from the front yard. That was fun. But we were happy Gilmoring. We weren't going for accuracy necessarily. But that was a lot of fun. I went with my dad on a couple of golf days. I mostly drove the cart.
Yeah, when I told Cade that, oh yeah, we'll get you some clubs and everything, we'll go play golf. And he's like, I don't want clubs. I want a dirt bike.
I mean, that's fair.
Because he wanted to go with, but then he's like, I don't want clubs. I want to get a dirt bike. And I was like, oh.
I mean, it's totally fair, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you get more use out of that one. Although, if you imagine having to throw your bag over your shoulder and ride a dirt bike to the next spot.
That'd be fun.
Or would it be annoying?
To who?
It depends on if you drop your clubs or not.
That's true.
Yeah, if you drop your clubs going around a bend. So I don't think anybody's bothered to do this, but maybe we should.
That's funny because evidently they're coded to the fact if you go out of bounds, they shut off the carts.
No shit.
I didn't know that.
They have geogates?
Yeah, because we were actually off on one of the holes looking for one of the balls, and it should have been right there off. Fairway and everything was cut nicely, go right to the edge of the woods.
Yeah.
And it started beeping at us. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's just because I'm on the
You
incline.
have 12 feet to return back to this area.
It didn't even do that. And it just cut off. It wouldn't let us do anything. I'm like, what the hell?
Imagine if it had like a robot voice.
That's funny. So
Please return within the bounds of the game.
So we just turned it off, put it in tow mode, push it down the hill,
Yeah.
stop, put it back in, it went. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So
I mean, that's
telling
cool.
me that you
Keep
couldn't
people
go
from
that
stealing
far.
it. Yeah.
But we were literally still on the course.
Yeah.
I was like, they must have remapped it somewhere along
Move
the way.
something over a
Yes.
sensor, or one of the sensors got bumped by a bird or some shit.
Yep.
What do you think, Jefe?
It's a sport invented by drunk dudes in skirts chasing a gopher hole.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's okay, but I mean, I wouldn't have said that about the Scots, but you know, whatever. And yes, Robin Williams is very funny. That whole bit, yes, I understand.
In the gopher hole.
Yeah, put it in a goddamn gopher hole. 18 fucking times. Now I played disc golf.
I see. I hadn't even done that.
That is more fun in my opinion, but probably takes significantly more skill.
So you have to figure out how to.
Yeah, you got to know how to throw it right. You got to be able to get it through trees.
Yeah.
And everything else like that. I mean, you don't most of the time, not always, most of the time you don't have a totally clear fairway, as it were. You know, because we played at, what is the park down there off 2854?
McDade?
McDade, yeah. Played down there years ago. It was fun. I lost one of my friends' cheaper discs. But it's not my fault. They put the river right there. You know, it is what it is.
Water hazard.
Yeah, definitely. It was non-retrievable. He's like, that's okay. I needed a new one anyways. I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. I know that there's a lot of breweries that also have pins installed where you could go around the campus usually and whatever. And I'm pretty sure, could be wrong, I think the Woodlands Church has pins set up all around their campus.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I think the last time I went there for work, I saw a few of them out there because it's a massive campus, you know. So why not, right? You know, and they got water hazards, they got hills, they got whatever.
Yep.
So, speaking of that, our church still has not found a new home quite yet, and we are running out of time. I think May is when we have to be out, and we are almost in May.
Yes. You only have a few days.
I don't know when in May we have to be out because I know
Say if you have-
July is the end of it. I know for a
Okay.
fact July is they're done with that building.
So at least you need to find a place before you are completely.
They're working on it. Obviously, I'm not in charge of such things. I'm just here to help.
Okay.
And it's not like we have to move anything. We already have everything. It's just we need somewhere to be. So that should be interesting, figuring out where our new home will be. Because as far as I know, the city of Conroe is not going to just hand it over to us, even though it'd be awesome. Because that community center would be a perfect setup for a church. It's already good to go. Just convert the back building to the actual worship center. Offices are already good to go. We just have our daycare center and everything else set up. So that'd be nice, but, you know, whatever. City of Conroe being City of Conroe. Heaven forbid, you know. All right, either way. So, guys, we do have a story to discuss today. Sorry, I was making sure that I have everything pulled up here because one of them I'm going to have to read the hard way because websites be dumb and they want their money and you can't do it otherwise. Okay. So this has to do with something that happened on a recent unsubscribed podcast episode where Rich High, otherwise known as AngryCops, came on. He's a friend of the podcast, and you know he's been on there plenty of times. That's how most people have been exposed to him before. He's been on YouTube for a long time. He's a 14-year veteran of the Buffalo, New York Police Department. And he's currently an SVU detective. That's Special Victims Unit. He's also been in the military for, I think, 12 years. Or 12 or 14 years. He's pretty much there. He's a drill sergeant in the reserves. So he does that at least once a month, I believe. So, you know, he's a military guy. He's a cop. He loves doing both. He makes enough money where he doesn't have to do either job. He could just do YouTube for the rest of his life, but he loves his job. He loves beating the stupidity out of new recruits, and I don't mean literally, I mean, you know, as a drill sergeant, it does. Basically, destroy the weakness, replace with strength. And he enjoys being a cop because he just loves putting away bad guys and doing the right thing. So he goes on unsubscribed, technically a few weeks ago, is when it was recorded, just dropped this week. And basically starts telling about the fact that the Buffalo school system, or Buffalo school district, has been covering up reports of sexual assault, child abuse, and even attempted kidnapping for whatever reason, even to the point that he himself has been investigating at least one of the cases directly, if not, his department has been dealing with it because it is Buffalo and Buffalo. It is what it is. And they keep running into roadblocks, or they keep running into people who are they find out, in one case, deleted video evidence of an attempted kidnapping. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read this first article. So we're going to go from one article to another, basically going back and forth between what Rich has said and what the official from the school district, and then other outside things that have come up since. So that was Saturday when that episode dropped. This has all happened since today, which is Monday. Think about that. Just 3 days over the weekend, and all hell is broke loose, effectively. So, reading from Law Enforcement Today. Let me bring it up here so we can all see what's going on. So, Buffalo SVU detective whistleblower. Schools are refusing to report sexual assaults, child abuse, attempted kidnappings. So, Buffalo, New York. Buffalo Police Detective Richard High of the Special Victims Unit, known widely as YouTube creator AngryCops, and a regular guest on the nationally ranked Unsubscribed podcast. That's worldwide ranked. Thank you. All right, made a bombshell whistleblower report against Buffalo Public Schools on a roundtable show and viral video released Saturday. High, a 14-year technically, veteran police officer, U.S. Army National Guard, drill instructor, revealed stunning allegations that Buffalo public school officials intentionally obstructed police investigations into alleged child abuse, sexual assault, attempted kidnappings, and failed to act in their role as mandatory reporters. And that is one of the biggest thing, is that as a school, because you are in charge of these children, especially counselors, superintendents, anybody in any type of position of power in a school is apparently, at least in Buffalo, supposed to they're mandated to report any incidences, and they haven't been. So that's fun. Let's continue. High called out the legal representatives of the Buffalo Public School in particular for deliberately ignoring lawful subpoenas and being obstructionist and actually giving information to school administrators and school personnel to not talk to the police or assist the police in any way. That was a big thing because in the case, this particular case of the kidnapping, they knew there was evidence and they were subpoenaed for any evidence they had, whether that's actual people coming to them with reports or any videos or anything else like that. And they have literally ignored all subpoenas from a judge. That's crazy. That is crazy, because if you or I were to ignore a subpoena, what would happen?
Would be in jail.
A police officer would come to your door and be like, excuse me, the court wants to see you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Buffalo Public Schools publicly denied the allegations. Of course they did. In a statement released to social media, we'll be covering that in a minute, claiming the district is prepared to vigorously address these untruths. Don't you love that word, untruths? So Rich actually said, that's not a real word. Actually, technically speaking, is a real word for legal reasons. Because they can't say that he's lying, because to do so would mean a very specific legal definition. To call it an untruth might be, well, it's something we can't necessarily prove that is or isn't true, but we can just throw that out there. Isn't that a fun thing? Okay, so during the podcast, Detective High, at times fighting to maintain composure, which, watching a guy who very much is a jokester and a pain in the ass, and a guy who talks a lot of shit and has a quick wit, literally have to stop and compose himself because of the story he was about to tell, it was hard to watch. Watching any grown man cry is difficult, but for a tough dude that to be tough, he's a fucking drill instructor. Mm-hmm. He's a tough motherfucker. To see him basically have to keep himself together as he was talking about this, not just because of how he felt about the case, but because he also knows that by basically lighting this fuse, he has no idea what's going to explode or how it's going to hurt him, which was a big thing. But he couldn't sit on it anymore, So, described several troubling examples of his allegations. One of the examples was a case he directly investigated in his role with the SVU. He also expressed concerns that his whistleblower report could negatively impact his career in law enforcement. He began with an incident at the Dr. Charles R. Drew Science Magnet Elementary School. That's a sign, isn't it? You're going to charge by the word on one of those, Chad? Charge by the letter?
By letter.
Yep. Attached to the Buffalo Museum of Science. So this is all quotes directly from the podcast here. There's a school that's attached to the Buffalo Science Museum. That school that's attached to the Buffalo Science Museum has doors that can go from the museum into the school. Those doors are not locked. Individuals can get into them, right? Stranger danger, right? And that happened. So a stranger went into the school. It's a grade school, a very low school. So what he meant was low grade.
Yeah.
People were asking questions thinking he was insulting the school. He meant literally it's like grades 1 through 4.
Yeah.
And this person grabbed a male and a female child.
That's what's nuts.
Yeah. So it goes into the school, grabs a young female child and a male child and tries to leave. And I'm gonna parcel. I'm quoting here, by the way. It's not me having problems reading. Parcel this story up in a kind of way that the information came in. At first, the information that came in was that there was one female child that was, it was an attempted abduction. There was no report about the second child, kind of a big deal. Second child, the boy, had pissed himself. And when his parents came, this is where he literally had to stop and pull himself together. Like it was like a minute. Like it took him a minute, and the guys were like, "It's okay, man. It's okay." Also, room of tough guys. If you've ever seen Unsubscribe, like, hold on, I'll have to pull up the picture eventually. But like me in the future, pull up an image from the people at the table with him. So you've got Eli double tap, ex special or specs or was the Army? Yeah, ex Army. Infantryman. Mm-hmm. Even though he's like 5'4", he's jacked and stronger than anybody else at the table. You've got a fat electrician Nick, who is like a massive dude and can bench like 305. So, then you got Rich. Then you've got habitual line crosser next to him, a guy who literally shoots missiles at bad guys for a living. Sitting next to Brandon Herrera, who makes really big guns for fun. Sitting next to another ex-cop, ex-Navy guy with a donut operator. So all big, tough, strong dudes, half of which are dads, by the way. And they're all like basically trying to comfort their friend while he's trying to take this massive risk. Eli already knew about this. He had already talked to him about it. That's why he came on the show. So, all right. So when his parents came to pick him up, the school did not disclose to the parents that the kid was part of an attempted abduction. So when the parents asked him, mind you, this is hyperbole a little bit, why did my kid piss his pants at school? The teachers and people in charge did not tell them that there was an attempted abduction. Then the school deleted the video of the attempted abduction. Okay, so you as a parent, even as a stepdad, if you were to go pick up Cade from school, which I'm sure you did at some point in his young life, even possible more recent life too, if you picked him up and he had peed himself, would you just think he had a bad day and ask him? But if he was visibly upset and he couldn't tell you what happened, how would you feel?
Yeah, I would be a little upset and everything too myself, trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
I would actually probably talk to the school.
Ask
right
the teachers.
Then and there. It's like, what happened?
Why is my kid covered in piss?
And why wasn't I called or anything like that? So either bring something new, or how long has he been like this?
Exactly. Like if you picked your kid up and he had already peed himself and clearly hadn't changed clothes.
Yeah.
Also, we're kind of we don't know for sure.
We don't know.
But it was apparently recognizable that he had peed himself. But you're right. I remember at least way back when, I know for a fact I definitely peed myself at school. Somebody had to bring me some clothes or at least come pick me up. Because they weren't going to let me sit in pissy clothes all day. Even with little kids in their diapers. You can't leave that on there. It will have problems.
Yeah.
A larger kid running around all day, they'll probably dry off a bit, but still. Now you got to be the kid that not only just nearly got abducted, but also peed himself.
Well, I like, he did have an incident, but he got like pushed down in some like water. And so he went to he was muddy and everything like that. But so he went to the office, nurses, whatever like that, and they actually gave him a change of clothes. But they put his clothes in a bag. Then he comes home. I'm like, why are you?
Why are you in new clothes?
Like, yeah, what the hell are you wearing?
Yeah, that would make sense. So, I mean, maybe that is also kind of what happened, but apparently they didn't give him any answers. So here, the DA's office only got the video, because somebody within the school had the wherewithal to record it and then give it to them. So the way he described it is basically someone recorded the video on their cell phone from the screen when they found out it was to be deleted. It's the only reason the DA has any evidence.
So someone was smart enough to do that.
Yes. So the DA's office has sent subpoenas, so like court order documents from judges that are signed to the school's legal representatives, and those representatives have intentionally not responded to them. So the school's lawyers, right? Now here's the weird thing, which is like this is the biggest issue right here, is that specific one is the one that sent me over the edge. Obviously, I'm emotional from it. The biggest issue with this entire story, well, one of the issues with this entire story is that when subpoenaed, these legal representatives for the Buffalo School Department are ignoring the subpoenas and not just not responding to them, but being obstructionists and actually giving information to the school administrators and the school personnel to not talk to the police or assist the police in any way. Like, this, I mean, I don't want to make it political, but this is kind of the same thing as what's going on with the deportations right now, where you literally have judges being arrested for helping illegals evade ICE. Sometimes even letting them stay in their own house.
Okay.
And so in a very similar manner, you've got legal representation who know something bad has happened at the school, especially to children, and they're saying, do not talk to the cops about this. And someone gave the order for that evidence to be deleted. It's one thing to just say, hey, don't say anything so we can cover our ass. Someone gave the order for that to be deleted.
Yeah.
That person needs to be held massively accountable. And anybody else who helped cover it up also all needs to be held accountable.
Now, have they stated how long this has been going on?
Not in this case.
Okay.
But later on, because there's lots of ongoing investigations. This just happened to be the one that he was involved
recently?
in. Yes, he said this was the one that sent him over the edge. All right. So in a second troubling example, Hyde told the story of a girl who had been reported being beaten by her father, alleged to be a member of the Bloods gang, only for guidance counselor to fail to report it twice. He explained that the counselor, quote, she didn't report it, and then the next incident happened where this girl had a video of, I forget if it was either her dad post beating her, or if it was during the beating, or if it was of her injuries. So basically she videoed something about this last beating. I think it was of her dad punching her. And she walks into the counselor's office while she's with another girl, plays the video, and the woman's like, is that you? And she's like, yeah, that's me. And then the girl walks out of the office, and then later on the day, the counselor goes up to her like, hey, listen, what's going on with that video? Like, is that you? Like, what's going on? The typo here says, she's like, yeah, that's me and my dad beats me all the time. And the kid walked away. Not reported to CPS, not reported to the police. So that means eventually they got the statement, I assume, from the counselor about this way after the fact. At that point, she should have been like, okay, hey, now we're going to call CPS. Nope. Said to continue, it was in the third time when my case comes in. The kid comes into school beaten and bruised and swollen. Then they finally remove the kid from the parents' custody, right? And then that's when I get the investigation of child abuse. It took 3 times. You good? Okay. So that one was already pretty bad because I know kids who were abused in school, that came to, and I never had to deal with that end of it. I mean, I dealt with abuse in school, like from other students.
Yeah.
I was bullied. Go figure. A nerd like me got bullied, right? Actually, I talked about that on the podcast, the Patreon podcast the other week. I mean, that was so bad for like an entire school year. Like, apparently my mom said that I would come home crying from how bad I was bullied. It's like, I don't remember that, but maybe that's one of those things I lucked out.
Yeah, I was bullied as well. So
yeah,
new kid in a new district. And
I'd say at least I wasn't the new kid. I was always with the same people, but because of one bad joke I shared with the wrong people, I got picked on mercilessly for like a fucking year, to the point that when they did get involved, basically if something happened to me, all I had to do was report it and that person was going to be instantly written up. And I only had to do it once and everybody stopped. Either way, so moving on, because it's not over yet. Moving to the allegations of sexual assault in the Buffalo public school system, High told the podcast, in his opinion, the legal representatives of Buffalo City schools that are advising, educating, I think it says scaring, whatever you want to say it is, to these administrators, teachers, counselors, don't talk to the police, don't make a police report, have the police report say, instead of sexual assault, make it information only. Literally in quotes. You know, well, you want to bury a sexual assault with a kid and have a, quote, fucking cop show up and then have them write down everybody's name and say information only, and then don't forward it to Special Victims Unit. 5 kids raped, 7 kids are raped by one other kid in the school, right? This is a bad quote, the way they wrote this. 7 kids are raped by one other kid in the school. They're 14, he's 16, so it doesn't fucking matter. Like a repeat rapist.
Yeah.
In this school.
Knowing
nobody fucking did a thing. Don't know which school. That's not spelled out here. These are cases he's aware of but not on. That's why I couldn't give a lot of specifics. Because he is in the Special Victims Unit. They are a unit. They do things together. Okay, so in a post on X responding to the denial of the Buffalo Public School System, High revealed 2 years ago a BPS student was raped in a school by a pool, and the principal, quote, did her own investigation and, quote, closed the case. Never reported it. A year later, the child reported it to the police, but there was no video available because you never reported it. So apparently there was video of it, supposedly. So, like, I mean, at this point, because if a case is closed, I guess he can talk about it. If a case is ongoing, obviously he can't. I'm not giving any details. So, in a brief phone interview with Law Enforcement Today, this website, Detective High expressed his disgust with the denial issued by the Buffalo Public School System. He told LET, untruth isn't even a word, but they can't say lies because all the information I stated is from numerous law enforcement investigations, and we have mountains of evidence. So he actually went on the news on Saturday to WKBW. High told interviewers that he fears he may face disciplinary action for going public. This is definitely a chance, but it's the right thing to do, It's like I've gotten a lot of space since the videos came out. I've gotten a lot of calls and text messages from different people and, different ranks in the Buffalo PD, outside the Buffalo PD, local national politics that are saying that, they support me in my decision, and it's kind of hard to wag your finger at somebody who's calling out somebody for not protecting children. And I mean, we know Epstein Island was a thing. Mm-hmm. And we know people knew about it. Mm-hmm. We've known ever since the Biden administration that hundreds of thousands of children have come across the border to basically be used in some form of slavery. Most importantly, sex slavery. We know this for a fact. And our government helped process those children into sex slavery. So it doesn't shock me at all to see in a basic bitch school system that administrators would turn a blind eye to cover their own ass and probably threaten good people who would do the right thing. Because I guarantee you there are teachers who have been told from their students, hey, this happened to me. What should I do? And they bring it up probably to their administrator like they're told to, and probably should, right? And they're said, don't do anything. Don't talk to that kid anymore. And we can't have this here in our school. I'm not making specific allegations. I'm saying this is kind of what is being alleged.
Yeah, bad press.
Bad press. Because I remember one argument he said is like, why wouldn't somebody ask him, why would they, I think it was Brandon, asked him, why would they do this? Why would they keep their mouth shut? He's like, because they think maybe they'll lose funding. It's like, but that's not how it works. No. That is not how that works. So why? All right. Okay. Let's see here. Kyle Reyes, owner of the 1776 Project, which owns Law Enforcement Today, they're quoting their own boss, had the following to say. Buffalo PD Richard High is exactly the man we need in law enforcement, especially in these far-left cities and school districts facing the very real possibility of losing everything. For his career, his retirement, being hit with lawsuits, he decided to stand on truth and righteousness. Had the school done their part and focused on protecting kids and not protecting their own asses, perhaps we wouldn't need whistleblowers. I'd encourage AG Bondi to immediately open a criminal investigation into the school district, throw every single one of these educators who put children at risk behind bars. I can't say I'm not behind that. That sounds great. Let's do that. You know, I'm all for looking into this shit and figuring it out. However, that's only one side of the story. So let's, never want to say that we don't try our best. And plus, I had lots of time to kill this morning waiting on my fucking physical. So I can't pull this one up on screen, guys, because of the way websites work, and they won't let me open it again. So this is from buffalonews.com. That seems like a pretty reputable news source, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's their city. I hope they would know. Here's the headline. This is great. Buffalo police detective with rocky past alleges sexual assault abduction cover-ups by Buffalo schools. I don't know if you've ever written a headline before, but usually the first few words are where you put the thing that you think is most important. Why do you think they focused on saying that he has a rocky past? Instead of going, hey, by the way, local cop says that a school district is covering up sexual assault. He may have a rocky past. Maybe that would be the way you put that. Or maybe put, but can we trust him? That kind of nonsense. Okay, so I hate having to read this shit, but it's fine. It's fine, because this is why I got in that little slightly Twitter beef earlier. All right, so a Buffalo police detective who has found himself in trouble before, once again, first fucking sentence is the thing they find is most important, over his actions on and off the job, took to a popular podcast Sunday to accuse Buffalo public schools of covering up incidents of attempted abduction, sexual assault, and child abuse in the last 2 years. Actually, it's more than that, but yes. Richard High, a veteran of the Buffalo Police Department, an active military sergeant, drill sergeant. They didn't put drill sergeant. I was like, appeared on a roughly 40-minute special segment of the Unsubscribed podcast. Yeah, it was about 38 minutes. To describe upsetting situations he believes were improperly handled by employees of the school district, from attorneys and school counselors to teachers and administrators. That sentence didn't come out right, I don't think. That's how it was written. That wasn't. As of Sunday afternoon, the YouTube version of the podcast approached 500,000 views, as well it should. The Buffalo school system, this is a quote, has been intentionally not reporting the sexual assaults of students between students, and has also used the Buffalo Police Department's school resource officers to write reports and use their influence over those officers to close reports. I forgot he did mention that. The other article did not mention that. So the school resource officers have been made to basically close cases that never got investigated. It said High, who called his accusations a whistleblower situation in which he expected possible discipline. Buffalo Schools posted a statement to its social media accounts Saturday evening to acknowledge the video's existence. That's funny. And stated plans to vigorously address these untruths. The district statement added that incidents are handled with seriousness, integrity, fairness, and empathy. Right? Clearly, you have a cop literally spelling out how none of that is true. The Buffalo News requested a response by the Buffalo Police Department to High's accusations. A spokesperson acknowledged the request, but no statement had been issued as of late Sunday. Probably because they're dealing with the shitstorm, if we're being fair.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Knowing that podcast was definitely recorded weeks ago, probably, because they bulk record them, like usually 4 at a time, and then release them over the month. And I know he hasn't been back in Texas for a little while, because between his normal day job, his drill sergeanting and stuff like that, he can't fly down to Texas that often, but he was on at least 2 back-to-back episodes of Unsub. So, because they always get a lot of their friends in. Okay, let's see here. High said, a recent incident sent him over the edge. He detailed February incident, and okay, so that's all that part there that we already went over. But here's the details. So they actually include the name of the person. So they did bust the guy at some point. So Shane Cronin, 30, of Illinois. Guy's from Illinois. He was trying to steal kids in there. Buffalo police at the time said Cronin had approached a young student, High, who said he worked personally on this case, that Cronin had tried to abduct the two students, a girl and a boy. And the attempted abduction of the boy was never reported and not disclosed. So they did know about the girl. They never said anything about the boy. Don't know why, but they didn't. So that's very strange. The school then deleted the video of the attempted abduction. And the district attorney's office only got it because somebody within the school had the wherewithal to record it and give it to them. We already covered that. All right. So the podcast has already sent trimmers through the district. Superintendent Tanya M. Williams-Knight, that's a name, posted Sunday that she was deleting her social media accounts due to High's accusations. I have heard this, that they're doing a lot of deleting of their personal accounts so that people will stop going after them.
Yeah.
But also, they were deleting comments. The school district was deleting comments on posts where people were basically making accusations. And they started editing and deleting comments from the post. I mean, they can do that, but it still looks really bad, right? Okay. Unfortunately, at this time, there are completely false distractions against my staff, the district, and myself taking place. False distractions? What does that even mean? By people who I do not even know. The superintendent wrote. Sorry, I've read that. That was a comma, not a period. Williams-Knight, just pick a name. It's not even hyphenated. It's just Williams-Knight. Has used social media throughout her 3 years in a role to highlight positive developments within the district. Oh no, she has to delete her social media because of this. Bite me. All right. Parent leaders reacted differently to High's message. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Correct. Said Ed Spidell. Or Speedle. I don't know. It looks like Spidell. President of the District Parenting Coordinating Council. Jessica Bauer-Walker, Director of Community Health Worker Network of Buffalo, emphasized that there is help for parents and families alarmed by the types of incidents High spoke about. She did not want to comment on any of the specific situations High raised. I wonder why she didn't want to comment on the specific ones. They're like, shit. They caught us on that one. They're like, maybe you should. All right. It's important to ensure that BPS has policies and practices in place that protect students and provide accountability and transparency to families if and when an innocent incident occurs. Well, we already know it doesn't, she said. Now, in the case of the girl who was getting beaten, I mean, if they didn't pay attention the first time, they were asking questions on the second go because they're like, wait, what the fuck? And then they didn't do anything then. But it took the third one where she came to school literally walking evidence.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, I guess we can't ignore this one. I mean, but that person seemed like they maybe wanted to do the right thing, but something stopped her, I guess. Because you could do anonymous tips.
Yeah.
They'd be like, well, how do you know? Shit. I work for this. You know, if somebody were to threaten your job for trying to speak out, yes, obviously bad things. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying the obvious. Students and parents should know who to go to for help in their school district, including community-based family advocates. Buffalo Teachers Federation President Rich Nigro, I'm assuming is how you say that, planned to address some of the topics High raised with the district leadership. So they were planning on having a meeting. They said tonight. I don't know what that means now. Tonight, or was last night? That I don't know. Security and safety of all our members and our students is Federation's highest priority, he said Sunday. So that would be, okay. I'll be following up with the district on details on the allegations reported yesterday by the Buffalo SVU detective. I'll be updating members in coming hours, and I'll have more information. High's actions as an officer and public persona have brought trouble. Okay, so here's how they come down on Rich as a person to try to talk shit. And he makes no bones about it. He's talked about some of these things that he's gotten in trouble for. So he's not trying to hide anything. So High's actions as an officer and public persona have brought trouble in the past. Local news outlet Investigative Post reported in February that an investigation by the New York State AG revealed that High's misconduct on several on- and off-duty incidents should have been met with greater discipline. Separately, High was suspended in 2016 and 2017 for content on his AngryCops social media account, which has about 730,000 followers on Facebook. They didn't mention YouTube. Which has and has been dedicated largely to satire and memes. So they basically suspended him for memery. At the time he was suspended in 2016, High had put up more than 100 of his own videos on the former video sharing site Vine. Oh, that's right. He started on Vine. That's right. Many of the videos feature topics that police leaders deemed objectionable, such as High pretending to snort cocaine, then screeching and laughing, recording fake police shooting in which High tells the victim to be quiet since he's only grazed, and one featuring High, who is white, dancing around with a black officer to promote racial harmony. I mean, clearly he's a jackass. He's just a jackass. It's fine. Buffalo Police Benevolent... What? Hold on. The Buffalo Police Benevolent Association... Okay. Stood behind High in a statement Sunday morning by President John Davidson. Detective Richard High is a passionate detective in the Buffalo Police Department who prioritizes the well-being of the city's most vulnerable victims, wrote Davidson, who declined to comment on the specific incidents about which High spoke. Once again, they shouldn't necessarily talk if they don't have the info, right? Especially if now they're investigating the school for it, right? You definitely can't talk about it. As a member of the U.S. Armed Forces and law enforcement officer, he does not shy away from the work he does to maintain his physical and mental health, which is part of the reason he acts like a jackass on the internet, is to deal with the shit he sees and does. Which, by the way, he did go to war. It's like he wasn't just nobody. He did serve overseas. His most recent podcast shows his passion for the job and dedication to his mental health. Detective High is a valued member of the Buffalo PBA and of the what? PBA. Okay. And has our support. So basically that guy said that. Now, what I was reading otherwise was somebody else who went off on a very long diatribe of all the stuff that he did, like saying shit online. Obvious. One time where he basically got into a verbal altercation with a judge who was having a fight with his neighbor over something. And the judge started, do you know who I am? Do you know, I know this person, and this person.
Name
So he basically name dropping everything. And he said, shut the fuck up. I don't care who you are, you know? And then this one time where he basically, it was a kind of a domestic sort of call. It was a street thing that went wrong. And these kids started beating up on another kid. So they separated everybody. He asked the victim, okay, which one was doing the thing? Was it he said the kid in the white shirt. And so he asked him, was like the skinny kid in the white shirt or the fat kid in the white shirt? And they said the fat kid in the white shirt. And he said, hey, fatso, you, come here. And so he said that was bad because he called him fat. Okay. Forget about the fact that he was talking about that kid beating the shit out of another kid.
Yeah.
Who cares if he called him fat? He was identified as the fat kid in the white shirt, not Jordan. Sorry, buddy. First name that came to mind.
You're the fat kid in the gray shirt.
First, shut up, Jefe. I need to insert Jeff laughing on in the background.
How dare you?
Fucking Jefe. What a dick. Look at him.
You got a problem?
So that's not the only thing. That's not the only thing, because we do have somebody else. How about this? How would we like to hear from some parents on this situation? How about that? So, on the website Odyssey, that's AUDACA or CY, I can't read. Buffalo parent on accusations against Buffalo public school systems. If you speak out, you're done. I am thankful that Detective Richard High came forward. The district has a history of covering up. This doesn't surprise me one bit. So, Buffalo, New York, an outspoken Buffalo schools parent, speaking for himself and not for any other group that he represents, told WBEN he's not surprised one bit of the accusations of a cover-up against the district. Ed Spidell, we talked about him earlier, joined in on that. And he said, I'm thankful that Detective Richard High came forward. The district has a history of covering up. I deal with a lot of special ed parents, and we have a lot of problems in special ed where students are placed in improper classrooms. This doesn't surprise me one bit. Spidell, who also serves as president of the District Parenting Coordinating Council, which we mentioned earlier, said he's speaking for himself because he thinks he will be blacklisted for his opinions. Why would he be blacklisted? He said, because nobody wants us to speak bad about Buffalo Public Schools, he answered. Spidell said over the last 4 years, he's attended almost every school board meeting, and every month, he said, parents bring in legitimate complaints about the board, but in his word, the district stonewalls it. I know of a mom who reported her young child was assaulted by a substitute teacher, and the district will not give the teacher's name. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know who did it. Well, you won't tell us who did it. So that the mom can press charges. So now you can't even press charges because you don't know who the hell to press charges on, right? And what do? Basically go to every teacher who was working that day and hope they know who did it, right?
They're not going to say anything.
Probably won't. Okay, so and it says, it's disturbing the lack of transparency that comes out of Buffalo Public Schools. In the YouTube podcast, Detective High said Buffalo school staff isn't saying anything for fear of losing their jobs. Spadell said that's 100% true. If you speak out, you're done. Buffalo School Board has called for a special meeting Monday afternoon. See, I was right. Monday. Dude, I don't know what day it is anymore. I was like 3 days ahead all week last week. So I kept releasing stuff early. On Tuesday, I thought it was Wednesday, so I kept dropping everything early. I almost released the podcast on Thursday without even thinking about it. So I'm expecting a proper statement from the board, noted Spadell. I don't think the board can ignore this. They need impartial investigations, he added. This is deep. There are lots of problems going on in the Buffalo Public Schools that are not being reported. That's a lot of shit. And I also believe it. You know, my mom was a substitute teacher and then also an ABU assistant teacher for well over a decade. And there was all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
All kinds of shit. Like, forget about the stuff that just the kids are doing. Like catching preteens fucking under the stairs. Like, of course. God knows how many girls were pregnant, even at that time, right? Definitely knowing of acts of violence and stuff like that. And mind you, that's here in our kind of small-ish town. You know, obviously New Waverly's a little bit smaller, but, you know, people were able to do the right thing a bit more there. So, like, if something happened, if my mom were to witness something happened between a student and another student and she didn't say anything, that would have been her ass for not reporting it.
Yeah.
In this case, and it feels like it is more of a modern situation, because I feel like this could easily happen here in, you know, basically the largest school in 20 miles. I guarantee you that same shit's probably happening that nobody reports. You know, whether it's sexual assault or just gang activity. I know the gang activity used to be really bad at Conroe High. I don't know if it still is, but I don't go there anymore. I wouldn't know. But I mean, when you have a school that's like 1,500, 2,000 fucking kids,
Yeah.
you know, what are you supposed to do? You can't keep an eye on all of them at all times, right? But in this case, what the fuck, you know? And as somebody who doesn't have kids currently, but was a stepdad at one point, if I ever fucking found out that some shit had happened to my stepdaughter and nobody fucking did anything about it, and then they got in my way as I tried to find out any information, well, it's a good thing I know Jefe. You know? I'd be like, damn, like, what the fuck are you, what are you supposed to do? You know? If this was just some dude, if it was just a concerned parent trying to go public with it, how much power do you, I mean, you're here on this mediocre, tiny podcast. Do you feel like you would actually have a voice if you needed to report something right now? Like that can make a difference?
Probably mildly.
I mean, you're also, you know, you're part of your community. People know you around town. You know, you do stuff for the PD, the FD, everybody. You know, you make signs, you deal with their vehicles. So you know a lot of people around.
Yeah.
So you could hit up some people if some shit that
Yeah.
you knew was going down. So even you are slightly better connected than a standard just run-of-the-mill person, you know? Me, I mean, I know a few people, but nothing crazy. And I have this tiny voice on the internet. So Rich, even having his own platform, said he only felt comfortable to talk about this on Unsubscribe because basically he's surrounded by friends and surrounded by a massive community. You know, they're talking about the views on the channel is like, first of all, as I've learned from watching Unsub for the last like 10 months or so, you do not fuck with the Unsub community, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's like, I don't want to say they're a violent bunch, but they are a tight-knit bunch, and they will have each other's back 100%. Like, just the 5 guys that were on the show with Rich have been behind him totally. Like, Donut Operator is like number 19 account on Twitter, period. It's like, if you need something done via the internet, you tell Cody. Cody takes care of it on X. That's how that works. Like, not to mention, he was also a cop. He was also in the Navy. So he knows this shit. Also, to be even funnier, some of the incidents they're talking about with Rich doing bad shit on camera that people have accused him of, Cody did breakdown videos before they were ever friends. So he actually broke down the police footage of the incidents that they were talking about that they're trying to hold against Rich. That's what's nuts. So the fat electrician has been out there every day since then, commenting on any post. They're trying to get anybody they can to talk about it. And the funny thing is, I did see when he went on Timcast, the news podcast that I watch every night, he just casually dropped, by the way, I mentioned it on Unsub, where the Buffalo school system is not reporting sexual stuff. And he just left it. Didn't say anything else because they wanted to make sure the podcast came out. That's how I know
something was
YouTube time travel.
Yep.
That's what I always call YouTube time travels. They recorded that a couple weeks ago, and then due to the self-defense claims that we're talking about with the Carmelo Anthony stuff, which we have not followed up on yet to see where that's fucking going. I know that's still a huge mess politically. But that's why he was on Timcast, was talking about, as a cop who was special victims unit, and talking about self-defense and police violence and all this other stuff. And then they had a self-defense lawyer. So that's why he was on the show, right? And then he just casually drops, yeah, by the way, Buffalo School District just allowing stuff to happen to kids and not doing anything about it. And no follow-up, surprisingly, from there, because it's just such a casual thing. And then this drops. Let's see. Actually, let me pop over to the video. Let me see how many views that video actually has now on Unsub. Because they said it was 500,000 as of Sunday. Subscribe podcast. Only 727,000. I mean, people saw it. Now, the funny part is, if you watch the whole podcast that it was an excerpt from, very different vibe, because it is just friends hanging out, goofing off. But I knew there was a point that they cut and removed it, because you can see the point where, like, they clearly, as an editor of a podcast, I know how sometimes you cut and rearrange things. So you could just see that they clearly removed some stuff, and then they actually put off the actual episode that was supposed to come out Saturday to put that up. So, because I'd watched the version on their exclusive website, and then I came back to YouTube and I was like, wait, what? That's not. I was like, oh, what's this? And then that's when I read it on Saturday after it dropped. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, as someone who is a victim of child sexual assault, I feel a way about it. I always have. It's like, what? Luckily, my parents listened to me when I told them something had happened. Like, I didn't have to go to a school guidance counselor or whatever. It didn't happen at school. It happened at home. But, like, my parents listened to me, even though I was a dumb little 3-year-old. And then something happened. I don't know what they did, but I'm pretty sure they took that bitch to court. I'm sure something happened. It was one of our neighbors babysitting me. If you've never heard the story. But, also, I don't know who the fuck wants to try to have sex with a 3-year-old, because, that's a thing that happens, right? Jordan. Stop texting me right now. Man, nobody's going to be a men's group tonight. Either way. But no, I just like, if something had happened to me in the same way, and then I felt like nobody would have listened to me, I don't even know where I'd be at this point. You know what I mean? So I can't even really imagine. I could try to imagine what it's like for these little kids, especially the one that fucking nearly got abducted. Like, and nobody would have fucking known.
No.
It's like, so the question I got to ask about that, if they deleted the footage after they caught the guy, because they did catch him and somebody stopped him, would they have deleted the footage if he got away with the kids? If his plan had worked out, would they have deleted the footage to cover their own ass? That's the real question you got to fucking ask at this point. If they will cover it up and not tell the parents it happened, it actually might have come from the parents of the girl, because they clearly prosecuted off of that story.
Yeah.
Why did they cover it up for the boy? It's like, I mean, I hope that kid's going to be okay.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, luckily nothing went further, but holy fuck, man, I couldn't even imagine. Because a lot, I know, and not to play that game, but almost nobody thinks about what happens to little boys. Really, nobody does. When I tell people I was sexually assaulted, they're like, "What? I thought it only happened to girls." It's like, no, you'd be incredibly surprised how often it happens to either little boys or men in general, because it can happen. You get sexually. I mean, everybody. And the funny part is they also only ever think of men doing it to whoever. In my case, it was a female. You know, it was I think she was a teenager. I'm not entirely certain. You know, don't know exactly how old she was. She wasn't a kid. I just know that. But yeah, nobody ever thinks about that. And in this case, trying to steal 2. And now knowing the world we live in, where sex trafficking is way, way bigger than even we have an understanding of. But those kids have just been sold into some other slavery somewhere. We don't even fucking know. The question is, how deep do we dig? All the way? Find all the dirt? I mean, I think that's the only right thing to do. Unbury all of it, you know. Same thing with the Epstein files. It's like, why the fuck don't we know? Right? Not to go off that onto that level, but and that's the same kind of situation, except much larger cover up, obviously. But you know, condense the same situation. They know shit was happening, but because certain people are involved and they basically shut people down or make them disappear, even literally, once again, not trying to get off the subject, but this weekend, the top victim who came forward about Epstein, quote unquote, suicided herself this weekend. It's like, are you shitting me? After she mysteriously got hit by a school bus. I don't know if you heard that story.
I haven't heard that at all yet.
So she's literally the main fucking victim that came forward for Epstein. And a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, she gets T-boned by a school bus going like 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, what school bus goes 70 miles an hour?
None of them. That's why. Nearly kills her. Doesn't. And then she's literally on her deathbed. And like basically they tell her like, hey, you're dying or whatever. But instead of saying anything else, she's like, okay, but before I go, I want to see my kids. Almost like, wait, what do you mean? Before you go? Like, you know? It's like, you're in, I mean, yes, you want to see your kids, but it's like, how do you phrase that way? And that's a bigger scale problem. Obviously, someone who was assaulted, went through all this stuff, evidence of the people that were doing stuff to her, literally getting buried and suicided, so to speak. This is just some little kid and a parent who doesn't even get told. It's like, it doesn't even have to be a giant government conspiracy. It might be your fucking school or your church, you know, to throw the Catholics under the bus a little bit. I was a Catholic. It's okay. I can talk about it. I was like, I was Catholic. I can talk about this. Luckily, I didn't know anybody who got touched by our priest. But then he went away. I don't know what happened after that. I stopped going to that church. We got a new pope soon, though. Forgot the pope died. I don't think we talked about it at all.
No, we didn't.
It happened in between episodes.
Yep.
So, I mean, I made the statement on Facebook that here on this podcast, we 100% stand behind AngryCops and unsubscribe and any of those guys basically pushing this forward. I mean, we have almost no voice and no power, but I'm at least, as me, Shoky, I'm 100% behind this. You know, I'm sure Jeff would feel the same. I mean, if we got to pull out a wood chipper, you know, get the big wood chipper. It's been a while since Chippy's been fed, you know. Good old wood chippers for pedophiles. You know, just throw them in there. But yeah, it's just fucking A, man. That was a hell of a thing. And like I said, I watched all of that stuff and it over my head until this episode dropped, and I went, oh shit, he did say that. It's like, I forgot he did mention that, you know, out there. But imagine being him for all this time, seeing these horrible things happening, knowing that it's going on and not being able to fucking do anything about it, even as a police officer. Now, mind you, he's not going out there and doing anything rogue. He's not being a fucking vigilante. He's not putting on a mask at night and hunting down pedophiles. I wouldn't blame him. But, you know, it's like, we can't all be Batman. You know, he could be, kind of. You know, he has a crack house he could use to... You got to watch This Old Crack House show. So he bought a crack house on an auction and has completely redid it over the last couple of years. Looks gorgeous. It's in Buffalo. Okay. This Old Crack House. He even sells shirts for This Old Crack House. So guys, if you remotely agree with it, by all means, I'll link to the store, and also all the proceeds from that video are all going to help with anything he might need, like legal wise, because he is very, very worried he's going to lose his job. Or he mentioned where he gets suspended for like put on leave for like 10 fucking years, and basically they just retire him in disgrace. Could you imagine taking a cop off the streets who does a good job.
Yeah.
Does he sometimes get a little overzealous in stopping a bad guy? Sometimes. But he's never shot and killed anybody outside of military functions, perhaps. But, you know, he's a big personality, but he's a really good dude from all accounts. You know? So, yeah, kind of a downer this week for the most part, but it's an important fucking story.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can talk about pop culture, we can talk about silly movies and all this other shit, but this is shit that actually matters, and these are real people who are being affected. You know, it's not Hollywood dipshits. You know, I have the follow-up to the Gene Hackman story. You know, they found some weird shit in his autopsy. It doesn't make sense. But this is a bigger story than an old man died. You know? So, just wanted to talk about that. You know, so guys, it's an old adage, but basically, if you see something, say something. As the other dude said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should fucking look. You know, find the people who are willing to look. And do what you got to do to get any obstructions out of the fucking way. You know? So here's the funny part. I was a Catholic, I was a Boy Scout, and all these other things. I had all of these tries, and only got raped the once. But apparently it did happen in Boy Scouts too. Just not to me or anybody I specifically knew. But apparently it happened. Also, unfortunately, in the church I was a part of for a long time, there was a little bit of some touchy-feely stuff happening with one of the youth leaders. Once again, I wasn't there for that. I seem to miss all of those things, and I'm grateful for that, but it's unfortunate that it fucking happened. But someone stood up, said something, and it got taken care of instead of getting buried. I mean, it got buried in the fact that almost nobody knows about it, but at least it's a public record that people can go look up. Good luck fucking finding anything here. That video should be on the fucking internet tomorrow. But no. So either way, guys, thoughts, emails, voice messages, whatever. Let us know how you feel about this. If you want to dig into it further, obviously I'll do my best to link the articles. Shit changes all the time. They'll literally go back in and edit shit. They did do that. There was one article that said some bad shit about him just in the headline. He got called out on Twitter, and they changed it. They changed the headline to be less shitty towards him. Because, once again, like they phrased it, a Buffalo cop with a rocky past says that the school district is covering up kids getting raped. It's like, wait, we need to hear this part over here. Or best case scenario, put a but in the middle. Because I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it's something I live by. Everything said before the word but means nothing in a sentence. So if you said a Buffalo, New York cop with a rocky past and some weird accusations of his own, but he is calling out this calling out the school district for covering up horrible shit.
Yeah, don't worry about the first part.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah, but in this case, no but. Yeah. Just focus on him having a rocky past. And so people will go, wait, but why does he have a rocky past? And then you dig into it and you're like, oh, that's not that bad. Not to dismiss shitty behavior sometimes, but, you know, sometimes cops got to do shit they got to do.
Trying to redirect what's actually going on.
Yeah, so they want you to focus on him. And I even said that to the guy who was sort of, I couldn't tell if he was arguing with me or being supportive. It was really weird the way the responses were worded. But I was like, so why are we focused at all on the cop for reporting it? Why aren't you worried about the fact that it wasn't getting reported at all? That's the focus of the story. You know? That's the insanity of it. Much like the deportations. It's like, you're mad that they're getting deported, but you're not mad about why they're getting deported. It's like, hey, the violent crimes, that's the thing we should look at. Not the person that's like, I'm an MS-13 criminal. Don't deport me, bro. You know, that didn't get a chance to say that. Or it was in Spanish. One of the two. That might be the teaser. It has nothing to do with the rest of the story. I'm just going to say some wild shit.
There you go.
Just for funsies. All right, guys. Either way, so for the love of God, take care of your kids. You know, be aware of what the fuck is happening with your children. I know, you know, we haven't talked about anything, but, you know, as a father, you know exactly how that feels.
Yep.
Like, holy shit, you can't be on top of them 24/7, but if you don't even realize some horrible shit is happening to your kids, fucking A, you know? And then if you know somebody was covering up horrible shit happening with your kids. Deal with it in the best way possible. So let me say smartest way possible. That might be a better way to phrase that. I mean, wood chippers are available, but still. All right, guys, we will see y'all next week. Do the like and subscribe thing, please, for the love of God. Go show Angry Cops and Unsub some love. And also, if you just want to see a bunch of military dudes talking about stuff just for funsies, and they are all hilarious, go watch the Unsubscribed podcast, because that's where we get a little bit of what we do here, including the offenders. You know, the Awkward Offenders is literally a branch of their offenders. So either way, we'll see you guys next time. And with that, okay, bye. 3, 2,